And with me is Alan Stouder, who is State Coordinator for Operation Lifesaver Ohio. Good afternoon, good sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes. So, first off, a little bit about your background in the railroads, as well as how soon you became part of Operation Lifesaver and what you've been doing the past few years for them.
All right. Well, I have been retired 2 years from the Norfolk Southern. I hired in 1977 on the Norfolk and Western. I worked with them 41 years in the track department in all capacities from labor, assistant foreman, track inspector, and heavy equipment operator. I became involved in Operation Lifesaver when NS put out a call in their newsletter looking for volunteers in 1999. So I've been a volunteer for over 21 years. In that time I became what they call a presenter coach. We train new people to become our presenters, and I was trained to give the GCCI class, which is Grade Crossing Collision Investigation, to law enforcement. And I was also part of the RSER, which was Rail Safety for Emergency Responders class. I became State Coordinator of Ohio Operation Lifesaver in 2018, and I am still a volunteer coach. And also they combined the GCCI and the RSER classes, and it's now the RISC or RISC class, the Rail Investigation Safety course for first responders and emergency personnel, and we're ready to roll that out and start giving our law enforcement and first responders a safety class.
Excellent. And my uncle, Erm Kennedy, was a longtime state trooper with the Ohio State Highway Patrol. He'd done a few things with you guys in the past, as well as participated in some other safety courses with you guys. So it's just good to know that you guys are staying stalled and safety. Now, that being said, I know COVID's been put in a kibosh on some of the live events. What have you folks been doing since the pandemic on trying to have seminars and conference calls and what have you?
And that's an excellent question. And yes, COVID definitely disrupted everybody's lives, but it has brought to the forefront the technology capabilities of the Zoom, the team classes, and the go-to meetings. And we have utilized all those. I was actually trained as a RIS instructor through a 2-day, 8-hour each day Zoom class. Through the CN Police handled that. So we are utilizing the Zoom and virtual presentations. We've recorded presentations and sent them out to our school bus drivers and driver's education classes. So we're utilizing the technology. We are starting, because things are getting better, and with the social distancing and the protocols, we are starting to go out and actually do in-person events again, as long as all the protocols are followed and our people are getting vaccinated. So it's slow, but we're starting to build back up to where we go to the real in-person, which is the best way for everyone involved to learn.
Speaking of which, we were discussing earlier, you had signed a contract with the Ohio State Fair. Tentatively, the State Fair is going to be going on this year. So do you think that's going to be a hopeful experience to interact with the public and social distancing, mind you, and getting the message out about railway safety?
I sure hope so. And when I first received the contract, obviously I was tentative. But I am an optimistic person, so the Ohio State Fair has sent out contracts, and we're paying our fees for the booths. So the Ohio State Fair is tentatively on go. We also have a major conference through the Ohio School Boards Association, which every school board in the state of Ohio, they say 90% of them have attendees at this conference in November. They have also sent out a contract that we have signed. So we're looking at a couple in-person events. My friends up north in Michigan, just last week, we're at a Chiefs of Police in Michigan's conference where they did the social distancing. They had their table there. So hopefully we can get our events out there where we can get out and start interacting with the public and continue with our safety message.
What's the major statistics would you like to share with our folks here on Ohio Valley Rails? Because we're not only dealing with the rail fans, but the historians, those who are in the railroad profession, whether it be Class 1, regional, scenic, or even contractor, but also you got folks who just simply want to go out and see a train. What's some of the statistics would you like to share with us?
Well, and excuse me as I look down and read my notes, but the FRA statistics as of November 30th of 2020, because as we all know, the government moves just a little bit slow. So as of November 30th in Ohio, we've had 70 total vehicle-train collisions. Out of that, we've had 19 people injured and 8 fatalities. In 2019, we had 82 total, and that was for 12 months, with 20 injured And unfortunately, we've already raised, because we only had 7 fatalities in all of 2019. So we're already over our fatalities in 2020 with 30 days of reporting yet to go. What makes no sense is 56 of these 70 incidents happened at active crossings with lights and or gates. They were working, people knew we were coming, and still decided to take a chance. That left 14 at what we call passive, which could just be stop signs, a crossbuck, a white crossbuck. And actually what I found hard to believe was 3 of these incidents happened with a watchman at the crossing.
Goodness gracious.
They went past a watchman.
Oh my goodness.
Makes no sense.
Absolutely not.
As far as our trespasser fatalities, as I mentioned, November 30th of 2020, we've had 24 total, 11 injuries, and 13 fatalities. For 2019, we had 30 total incidents with 14 injured and 16 fatalities. So hopefully we can keep our numbers down. 1 is obviously way too many, but if we can continue the trend down, it's going to be great. My worst counties in the state for both vehicle and pedestrian incidents, you would obviously guess, are our 4 major cities, the Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, and Cincinnati. So the counties of Cuyahoga, Lake, Franklin, Portage, and Crawford had the most trespasser incidents, and Cuyahoga, Lucas, Butler, Hamilton, Lorain, and Summit all led the top for vehicle train collisions. So we're actually working on some new projects this year, which I'll just jump ahead.
Oh, by all means.
So some of the projects this year is I've asked the FRA, Federal Railroad Administration, for a grant, and I've asked the Federal Highway Administration for a separate grant to address these issues. The FRA grant is open to vehicle and pedestrian both, and we're going to work on a geo-fencing campaign where we're targeting zip codes. The actual zip code itself will be blanketed with our 30-second PSAs.
Excellent.
And we're going to do that for 3 months.
And that's something we try to strive to press the messages about railway safety, railroad safety, not only on the Facebook page Ohio Railroads, but of course the Ohio Railroad website. We've partnered with many railroad museums, historical societies, so on and so forth. Anytime you see tracks, you got to think train. And again, that's something I pride myself on trying to bring that message to, as well as our admins and majority of our members. So any tips you can put out there, it's mostly for the rail fans, because the railroad professionals mostly and the other individuals who are around railroads, they're pretty confident about what they need to do for encouraging safety. What would be any tips for rail fans in general?
Well, any tips, and it's mostly common sense, because our statistics make no sense.
Right.
As you probably know, the United States is averaging every 3 hours there's a rail incident, whether it's vehicle or pedestrian. So every 3 hours, some in the United States, we're having a situation. And it's because people take chances. They're high risk takers. It can't happen to me. There's always going to be the drug and alcohol. There's going to be the distracted drivers. Mm-hmm. So we all just have to use our common sense. Anytime you're on or near the tracks, you have to look both ways, keep your head on a swivel, and get up, over, and away from the tracks, because railroad tracks are private property. You can be arrested and ticketed for trespassing on railroad property. And that's one of our biggest problems with one of our newest emerging problems is the professional photographer. Everybody wants to take a photograph too close or exactly in the middle of the tracks. We have chased off family reunions, class photos, family portraits. We have actually seen people put their children in the middle of the tracks, set them down, and walk away so they can get that perfect shot. That's just, it boggles. I don't even have words for that, because you're not cheating death. You're actually cheating life when you do things like that. So stay off the tracks. You might get away with it 20 times. The train only has to win once. And I can tell you from my experience on the railroad, by the time you see a train, it's usually too late. So you can get away with it. And all these people in these collisions probably went around the gates or took risks 15 or 20 times and got away with it. But if it's a tie, you lose.
Now, that being said, I have noticed also, too, in a legal way, photographers or rail fans would actually get permission via the regional or the scenic or that private rail if that train is not operating at a particular time, as long as they get a allotted time where they're not operating. That's perfectly legal as long as they go through the proper procedures and proper channels.
That is totally right. Myself, 2 years ago, we rode the Pierre Marquette up in Owasso, Michigan. And when it takes you to your destination, they park the train, they do their 3-point protection, they blue flag it, and they actually will take your photograph right in front of the 1225. That's perfectly legal. As you mentioned, if you get permission from a railroad, which is rare, I will throw out there, your scenic railroads are going to be more receptive. Your class ones and whatnot are probably going to say no. But if you do anything from a public venue, a rail park, a sidewalk, or a street, and you're not on railroad property, you can take zoom lenses, you can take all the pictures you want, and we encourage that. Rail fanning is a great hobby, as long as you do it correctly and safely and follow the protocols.
Okay. Well, again, we're going to continue to partner with you guys of Operation Lifesaver Ohio. I'll probably file a application here pretty soon to be a volunteer, if not be part of the membership. What is the website to look into that?
The Nationals website is oli.org. You can go there, and as you mentioned, you can apply to become a volunteer. And we're trying to get back to in-person training, but we can do. I'm setting up what we call Zoom classes for people that their last step is to go through. It's a 4-hour class to go through all the policies and procedures to see how you respond, because you give a sample presentation. So we're setting that up, but we can't wait to get back in the classroom and actually do the interaction with our volunteers. And it's got all the safety statistics. You can check out anything you want on there. And off of there, you can go to Ohio's website, off the OLI National. If you put Ohio Lifesaver website, you'll go there. Mine's not near as nice as the Nationals, but everything you need is there. Everything is free and downloadable. You can get information, you can get PSAs, you can get videos, and it's all free for use, free for downloads to use and to pass on, because as a not-for-profit, our job is just to prevent these track tragedies.
Pleasure having lunch with you today. Pleasure getting to meet you finally personally. I mean, we briefly met at the State Fair a few years back, but again, we'll continue to part with you guys to encourage and re-emphasize railroad safety.
I appreciate that, and as you mentioned, anyone out there who's interested in becoming a volunteer, go to oli.org and put your application in. We would love to have you.
All right. Have a great afternoon. Again, I'll be keeping in contact with you, Alan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.